Welcome to the Successful Home Inspector Podcast, where we discuss everything you need to know about home inspection from A to Z. Brought to you by Preston Sandlin and Home Inspection Carolina. We're here to share some success stories and some not so successful stories. Some things we can all learn from, and maybe, just maybe, we can help each other and raise the profession. So sit back, turn up the volume, and enjoy. Now, here's your host of the Successful Home Inspector Podcast, Preston Sandlin.
Are you struggling to make your home inspection business grow? Well, have I got the answer for you. HomeInspectionFlyers.com. At HomeInspectionFlyers.com, you get 5 flyers a month. There are 3 sales flyers and 2 recipe flyers. And you can customize them to exactly what you want. And these make great flyers when you go to the offices to put in their boxes, especially if you're doing like candy bowls or something along that nature. Like I said, it's 5 flyers a month for $29.99, and they're very creative, and you just put in your information. They come as a publisher file, and you just put in your information, and then you send them off to get printed. You can send them off online, and you can get color copies for less than 10 cents a copy. It's a great way to go. I went from being a 1-man home inspection firm to a 7-man home inspection firm on this one strategy alone. So try it today. HomeInspectionFlyers.com. Thanks.
Boys and girls, Romans and countrymen, we are back, and we have a special treat for you today. We have Troy Bloxom. He is out of Eagle River, Alaska, near Anchorage, and he is also the reigning president of NAHI. So, Troy, how you doing today?
Very well, Preston. Thank you very much.
Well, cool. Tell us a little bit about you, because we'd like to get to know you personally.
Well, I grew up in Australia, have lived in Alaska now for about 30 years, met my bride here as I was building my house, and we have a son who's 26, built about like you are, Preston, actually. He's a strapping young lad, we might say. And, he works for State Forestry here in Alaska, and he's a mechanic for him. And Krita, of course, and I have been married about 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And,
congratulations.
Well, thank you. It seems like 20 minutes, but, that's the beauty of it. But, we are very comfortable here, and her folks live around here, so I'm kind of doomed to Alaska, which is a good thing.
Well, cool. I have 2 things I want to add to that, or ask you about that. First of all, I didn't know you were from Australia. You must have, over the 30 years, because I got a lot of friends from Australia, and you don't have that Australian accent thing. So I guess you lose it after 30 years.
I can't even fake it anymore. I have Aussie buddies that came up here last summer, and they said, Troy, just drop it. Don't even go there. So, but yeah, I spent 11 years over there, and my formative years, shall we say. Some people will say I never grew up, so I never use that expression. But it was a great place to grow up, and the people are wonderful, and the climate's magic. It's a terrific place to be.
My oldest daughter, when she was young, every time she would meet or talk to somebody with an Australian or English accent, she would ask them if they were part of the Wiggles. Remember that? The kids group, the Wiggles, they sing and dance. Well, that was a big deal when she was little.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I will have to comment, you said your son's built like me. I work out, and the reason being, it's not because I'm vain or I'm trying to, the real reason is, or it's not because I'm into health, is I have a large head. I literally have a large cranium. So if I don't work out and look I look like a bobblehead.
There you go.
So that's my sole reason for, trying to look proportionate. Well, Troy, not many of us grew up wanting to be a home inspector. I know I didn't. I didn't even know the profession existed. So tell us how you came to become a home inspector, and what did you want to be when you were a kid?
I'm going to go for last things first.
Okay.
As a kid, I wanted to be a marine biologist.
Oh, cool.
Growing up in Australia and living on the beach, I was either in the water or on it. I was a surfer. And it just seemed like a natural thing to do. But as as I progressed through school, and I was a lousy student, it became apparent that I wasn't going to become a marine biologist. So my father was a builder, and I went to work with him, doing everything from the pushing a shovel to the finished trim, and knowing full well that everybody would need a house at one point in time. I became a carpenter, and Dad and I actually built precast concrete homes in Australia. When we came to Alaska, I started building log homes and doing the framing and all that sort of stuff, and did that for 27 or 8 years. And when that got to be no fun anymore, I decided that, and hard on the body too. It's a young man's game, and so I figured, what do I do to utilize what I've learned over the years? And this home inspection became a natural choice. So went to school down in the lower 48 and came back and thought I knew everything. And as soon as you do that first inspection, you realize you really don't know near enough. So I've been trying to get myself educated for the last 14 years doing home inspections.
Well, cool. Sitting on the trip, but I'm just interested personally. How did you and Creta meet?
I bought a lot here in Eagle River to build my first house. My father came to Alaska to help me. And she was working for the local title company. She closed the transaction, and during that process, she was required by state law to ask me if I was married or single. And when
she
was. It's state law. She asked me that question, and I responded that I was single, and you, and we hit it off from there. So
cool. Well, anybody who's ever met you, it's very apparent that you guys are a lot of fun to be around, and very inspiring. Well, my wife and I are on 18, so we're like, I hope we're keep it like Troy and Creta do. They seem to keep it interesting, keep it happy.
You're very kind.
Well, thanks. How now you got into home inspections? Tell us about some of the changes that you've seen, Troy.
Oh, I think most of it's technology and informational. As the information age has blossomed, when I first started, it was using the carbonless format forms that were horrible as far as it goes, and nobody could read my handwriting anyway. So I really had to get into doing it on a computer. The spelling may not be right, but at least it was legible.
Right.
That and the use of technology with cameras and now drones and all that sort of stuff. It's moving nothing but forward, so it's pretty exciting.
Cool. Hey, I am so grateful for the spell check on my report writing software. But the problem is I'll misspell something so badly I'll actually spell another word correct. It's not. It is a word, but it's not the word I wanted. So
you're not Robinson Crusoe there.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, tell us Troy, and what's the name of your home inspection? Is it Home Inspections Plus or something?
Yep, it is. Home Inspections Plus.
Well, cool. At Home Inspections Plus, how do you guys handle the phone calls and the scheduling?
I am really fortunate. My bride, Creta, decided to quit her job at the bank here about 8 years ago. And come to work for me full time, and she works full time for me. She's also a realtor, and she's a administrative assistant for a very well known realtor here in the Eagle River area. And she handles all the phones and does all the scheduling. So I am just completely cut loose and free to focus on the inspection end of things. That's worked out really well, and it still does to this point. But we are so far into the business now that we can't work on it. I need to train inspectors and get from being a single inspector to having multiples, because this last week I think we turned down 20 inspections.
Oh my gosh!
Couldn't fit them in, and of course we're going to be gone next week to an educational conference in Phoenix. So when we leave, it just shuts down, and it's painful.
Yeah, no, I was right there. And, there's a lot of people out there listening, Troy, that are one man. Some want to go multiple, some don't. That's okay. There is nothing wrong. I mean, there's some days, I'm multiple, but there's some days I'm thinking, gosh, back when I was single, I only had to worry about me.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a certain amount of trepidation there. I got to give it to you.
Yeah, and there's advantages and disadvantages of both, and I respect all because I see it all. Well, my next question is: do you guys have licensing, and are you a member of any associations? And I know you are because you're president of one, but I'll let you answer.
Well, yeah, we the state of Alaska became licensed in 2004 after a local legislator's son got a really lousy home inspection. And he pushed it through the legislature, and now we are. And once that happened, we lost about half of the inspectors that were working up here because they didn't want the liability, and two, they just weren't doing a good job. And so I see licensure as a benefit because at least now the consumer who we're working for has a better opportunity to have a steady, even, consistent quality product provided to them. So, but yeah, I got elected to the presidency of NAHI, and that was quite an honor and a surprise. NAHI's the second oldest national organization, been around since the 70s, and we're relatively small, but we are mighty, and we are working on lots of educational benefits for our members, because I really do think education of the inspector is what's key. If you don't know your stuff, you can't convince anybody else of being right or being having a place to move forward in correcting a home or anything else. So education to me is the absolute paramount. So
Sure. Well, tell us a little bit about NAHI, Troy. I'm going to give you the stage. All the listeners out there, what would be? Tell me why, because I'm interested. Tell me some of the benefits of joining NAHI, and how would I go about it? Let's say I'm interested in NAHI, and I talk to you. Tell me a little bit about the benefits and what's involved in joining, and do you guys have meetings or just give me the cliff notes, I guess.
Sure. There are a number of the best way to go to join would be to go to nahi.org and sign up that way. But NAHI is really for any inspector either getting into the business or already existing. We believe in that education is the most important thing, and that you already know how to inspect. Our goal is to make you better, and to make sure that you have all the tools available, to do a good job for your clients and your community, because it's more than just the one client that you inspect for that day or that week or whatever it is. The organization, like I said, is pretty small. We used to be much larger, but with the downturn in the economy, everybody's roster has gone down.
Sure.
But yeah, it's a great group of people that when I first started, they clicked with me. I don't know. I don't know any other way to say it. In that, I felt welcomed, and other organizations, which I'm also a member of. I'm a member of ASHI as well. I don't have that same sort of a bond with the people that are in it, and I can call NAHI members anytime. I can call ASHI members anytime, and having that resource so that you can ask the right question and know the right response is very important.
Sure. I think I'm going to join. I'm a member of InterNACHI and ASHI, and I just joined there, and because for the longest time I was kind of like this minimalist, well, what do I need that for, But I've come to learn the more people I can get around, the more value I get.
And it adds to your credibility.
Yeah, and you know what? You can be a member of more than one organization, It's not like I have to be on that team and I can't be on that team. You can be on all the teams, and why not benefit from all, You bet.
Every organization has something to offer. I just have a preference and a real love for the organization. They've been great to me, and I want to help give back and support them.
Cool. So go to nahi.com.
.org.
Oh, cool. And we'll talk about it a little bit more at the end. Well, that might lead into this question. The next question is, Stephen Covey has the 7 successful habits And one is called Sharpening the Saw, or Continuing Education. And I always tell my guys that's why we have a meeting every 2 weeks, and that also is payday, because that's how I make them come to the meeting.
Of course.
Well, they always say, can we do direct deposit? I'm like, hell no, because you won't come to the meeting. But we do a little lesson every, along with the, regular meeting. What do you do, Troy, to keep the saw sharp?
And truthfully, it is continuing ed. The state of Alaska requires us to get 20 hours every 2 years, which is just horribly minimal.
Right.
But and knowing where I live, we travel out of state probably 6 or 7 times a year to go to conferences, whether it's marketing or education or whatever it is, because it's just not available locally. And yes, some of the stuff you can learn online, but there's nothing like being face to face with your instructor or your fellow students and having that opportunity to ask those questions and
absolutely
get immediate response so that you really understand. It's a little expensive for us, but that's the way that goes. And one of the other things, I guess, for me is I'm also an International Code Council inspector, so I can inspect houses as they're being constructed.
Oh, okay.
And those educational credits, I physically can't get here, so I have to go off and go south. And typically it's about once a year, and I'm forced to go to Vegas so that
that's
the classes
terrible.
are there. Yeah.
Gosh, there's nothing to do in Vegas, man.
Nothing fun to do in Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. I've been to Vegas, and I'm like, all right, so how long will we stay at the conference, and how long are we going to be going to have some fun?
Yep.
But I highly recommend all the listeners out there, go to as many conferences as you can. And I know it's tough because you have to take time away from your business. But, years and years ago, I used to be of this feeling, I don't need to go to that. I can learn anything I need. I didn't realize there's so much value in, like what you said, face-to-face, what you learn, and all those little sidebar conversations you have out in the lobby, at the restaurant, and everybody's willing to help. And you know what? You develop some friendships. That's how you and I met, Troy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you develop friendships. And, I've got friendships now probably working on 12, 13, 14 years, and they're all because of that. And, when you develop these friendships, you can always call them because it's kind of lonely owning home inspection, because it's good to call somebody, hey, what do you think about this? Or, I'm having a problem with this. Do you have any advice? And all that stems from conferences for me. But
you bet.
Well, Troy, changing gears. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk so much. What do you have a success quote you could share with us?
Actually, I really don't. But my brother was a musician for a lot of years, and he wrote a song, or the band did, one or the other. I'm not exactly sure. But
okay.
it kind of goes where, will the work you do today stand the test of time? And you have, and it deals with what a father teaches you to do, and you need to do your very best every day. And that's really, I'll be on an inspection, and I'll be looking down that long, dark, narrow, low attic space and think, oh man, do I really have to go to the other end?
Yes.
Pop into my head. And okay, on your knees, here we go. It's really, that's kind of where I pull strength from many times. So
I love that. I might borrow that. I might have to post it on Facebook. But I got something to add to it. When you crawl down that long narrow thing, think pleasant thoughts. I'm always like balloons and clouds, balloons and clouds, balloons and clouds.
Happy place.
Yeah, happy place.
There you go.
Do not think of things that don't have legs and slither.
Yeah. Well, yeah. See, you've got those. I've got things with big claws and stuff. So.
Happy thoughts.
Yeah.
Troy, well, I'm going to double these questions up. Tell us something that people don't know about you, and what do you do in your spare time?
Well, yeah, I was a lousy student. And
Me too.
People may know that already, but what I like to do for fun, and when I have the opportunity, is I'll try and go hunt and fish with my son and my father-in-law. We're really good buddies. During the wintertime, I like to go snow machining. That's riding a snowmobile. In fact, there was an event here a week ago where called Arctic Man, and anybody wants to get a little information on that, arcticman.com. It's a terrific snow machiner skier event. It's wild. It's really wild.
Oh, cool.
But it's a lot of fun. But most of my time off is through the winter because it does slow down here at that point. But summertime, it gets a little crazy.
Right. Yeah, a lot of times I ask that question, like, this time of year, I know you don't even have free time.
Yeah.
But, well, cool. Well, Troy, you know that as well as I do, if you do enough inspections, you're going to, when that phone call comes back, you did an inspection for me 6 months ago. They're not calling to, wish you a happy birthday or anything like that. How do you handle an unhappy camper? Do you have a process? What's that look like?
Well, yeah, the process is really be as accepting as possible. Sometimes it's hard because, every time it's hard because it's a personal thing to you, and of course it's a house that you inspected that's personal to them. In fact, I had one of those this week, which was a little delicate, and it didn't start off well, but it ended well. You have to suck it up, and, swallow that little piece of crow and say, okay, what do I need to do to fix it? I pulled a range out to check for an anti-tip device, and the owner was concerned that I had wrinkled his flooring and didn't quite get it exactly right. I went there yesterday evening at 7 or 7:30 last night, and he and I got things solved, and he's a happy camper now. And
cool.
It's just one of those things that you don't want to have to do it, and it isn't any fun, but you just don't have a choice, and that's the way that goes. So.
Yeah, we had one similar this week. We had a GFCI we checked, and we tripped it, and it wouldn't reset. And, of course, you know whose fault that was.
Oh, of course.
It worked till the inspector. So, anyway, one of our guys went down there, and, I think it was like $12 to buy it. But, the time and effort. Anyway, just do the right thing and fix it, and everybody's happy. But
and one of the other ones that if I've got the time,
sure,
is I did an inspection about 10 years ago for a buyer, and I didn't walk a set of stairs, outside set of stairs, and they were absolutely rotted. Didn't walk it. And I made a deal with the buyer. They bought the house, but I went in there and I physically, cut a new set of stairs, removed all the old stuff, and took care of it. And the realtor that was involved is probably my biggest supporter today because of that.
That's awesome.
It was an expensive thing for me to do. It cost me, about $1,000. I lost my shirt on that whole deal.
Yeah.
It was fine, but I have had so many inspections from her since then. It pales in comparison. So.
Too, if I've learned, that's awesome. By the way, I've learned if you ever do something like that in the future, get them to write what you did and put it all over the internet if you can. If you make them happy, if they're happy with what you do, say, listen, can I just get you to do me one favor? And strike while that iron's hot, because that's gold. That's gold. And you know what? It cost you $1,000, but people hearing about what you did is worth a lot more than $1,000 worth of marketing. So
really.
Turn it into a market. And I've done stuff that's similar, and I didn't know at the time. I should have got this on paper, or something, or on the internet better these days. Well, we're going to get into some times when we failed and some highs and lows. But first, Troy, let's take a pause for our sponsor.
Well, I'll admit this probably doesn't have much to do with home inspection, but it will help me pay for this podcast. If you're in need of anything to hang on the wall, along the lines of art, go to PrestonSandlin.com. Check it out. You can click on there if you're interested, and it takes you to Fine Art America, some of the stuff I've done. And you can have all kinds of things, phone case covers, all different size art things. So if you're looking for a gift or something like that, you like this podcast, it'll help me pay for this podcast. That would be awesome. And if you can prove to me that you bought something from it and I see you at a conference or something, I'll buy you an adult beverage. Thanks a lot.
All right. Well, we are back here with Troy Bloxom, and he has been dropping some gold nuggets. I hope you're writing some of these down, guys, unless you're driving. Just rewind it. But he has been leaving some gold nuggets all over the place. Well, Troy, tell us about a time when you failed. Take us there, and what did you learn from it?
Actually, one of the times was just what we were talking about. Would be that set of stairs. we're all human. We're gonna miss stuff, and the idea is to be as aware as possible and educated as possible, so that you miss fewer things. And that's, when you become a multi-inspector firm, that's what you need to be able to impart to your trainees too, and other inspectors. It's always painful to make a mistake or be wrong per se, and I dearly or painfully hate to be wrong, but being educated and knowing your stuff and having resources and having done the research beforehand, so that if something comes up, you can say, well, yeah, but the manufacturer says it's got to be like this, and and it makes everybody else back up just a second and realize, well, maybe they do know something. So
Sure. Well, and you know something I'd like to add to that, Troy. No matter how great of inspector you are, how many hours you got, if you do enough inspections, you're going to get distracted, or you're just going to have a bad day, or something's going to be on your mind. So I always tell my inspectors, leave their phone in the truck, leave whatever problems, this is almost like you're doing surgery. And if your doctor is going to do surgery on you, do you want them answering your phone? Do you want them thinking about anything else but your surgery for that moment? So I always say, for 2 to 3 hours, this house, block out all the other distractions,
Yeah,
but you'll still miss something. I mean, it's going to happen to all of us.
Oh, of course. And during the inspection, I never answer my phone. It's with me because I'm doing other things with it. But I just put it on mute and away we go.
Absolutely.
That you're working for that person at that time. They have to have your 100% attention.
Exactly. And they probably waited a long time to get you scheduled, and I feel like they deserve your 100% attention.
You bet. Well, and today is the 18th. We're booking inspections right now for the 28th.
Oh wow! It's a good problem to have, but but it's a problem. And Gordon Fox,
it's absolutely a problem.
Gordon Fox told me, and it's true. If you're booking more than 3 days out, it's optimal, and if you're more than that, you need to hire. And I was like, that was a painful thing to hear, but I needed to hear it. Well, Troy, on the other hand, we talked about a time when you failed. Tell us about a time where you felt like you come a long way. Have you had one of those I've come a long way moments?
Probably. I try not to dwell on those so much, but I do get phone calls from people that are not even a client. They will call through our website or something and say, hey, listen, I got an inspection done and I can't find them, or I can't make contact with them, but they'll ask me the questions, or I'll have realtors call me and say, I know you didn't do this one, but I'm having trouble understanding the report. What can you tell me? And I'm going to tell them, listen, find the inspector, but if I'm reading this right, this is what I think you've got. It's great to become a resource for anybody in the community. It's pretty fun, actually, because it's a great mental challenge to figure out what it is they're really dealing with and where they can go from there.
Absolutely. And to all our listeners out there, you'll probably get those calls on another inspector, and I got one word of advice, or maybe a phrase or a sentence. Don't use that opportunity to throw that guy under the bus.
No.
Help that guy out. Be helpful, because first of all, if you throw the person under the bus, it makes you look bad. Even if they did something wrong, try to give them the benefit of the doubt, but just be helpful to the people, and don't because I've seen it happen where some inspectors will take that opportunity, and that is a big mistake. Always be positive about everyone, and it'll make you look good, and just be helpful like you're doing.
You bet, yeah. And the inspector community, I mean, if you really think about it, is pretty small, especially here in Alaska. There's only 60 or 65 licensed inspectors in the state.
Wow.
And the state is huge, but mind you, there's only 750,000 people that live here, but it's 2/3 the size of the lower 48 states.
Wow.
So most of them are based here in Anchorage area, 25 or so, or 30. And you can't badmouth one and not expect it to get back to you.
Exactly. Now, do you cover a pretty large land area? What's your range? How far do you go for an inspection?
Well, typically it's driving distance, so I'll put in anywhere from 100 to 250 miles a day, depending.
Oof.
but I have been very fortunate. I have been as far down south as Juneau and Ketchikan and Metlakatla to do inspections, and everybody's going to have to look on a map. But as far as Barrow on the very north slope, Kaktovik, which is there near the oil fields to the west out to Dutch Harbor and King Salmon, and I've been all over the state doing inspections. It's been a great, fun experience.
Cool. You know, I saw an inspector the other day. You know that thing says top 10 beaches of the world.
Mm-hmm.
He put that up. He says, "I'll do free inspections if you have a home in any of these places if you'll just my room and board."
I like his thought process. I really do.
I might have to follow that.
Yeah,
well,
anywhere in Mexico we can go. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, changing gears here just a little bit because I'd like to keep it all over the place. Tell us, Troy, do you have a favorite book you could recommend to our listeners? And what is it about that book that really appeals to you?
I really wish I could, but the business has been so busy. I haven't read a book in so long. I'm no help there, Preston. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Well, you know, I always say a book. I always listen to books. Audible.com because
sure.
You know, we just don't have time to read, but I have time to listen because I'm driving all over the place. But,
sure. Yeah, and I know Krita does that a lot. I'm usually driving down the road listening to motivational stuff and educational stuff as best I can. But reading a book, I can't even remember the last one I read. It's painful.
Well, I know. My wife reads. She probably reads a book every 2 days, and I'm like, I can't get through the first 2 chapters. I get too bored.
Smart girl.
Yeah, that's why I married her.
Yep.
I'm not too smart, but I did marry a smart person.
I think we both married up.
Yeah, there you go. Well, tell us, I sort of combine these 2 questions. It's really the same. Let's say that I'm a buyer or real estate agent in your market, Troy. There are other home inspectors I could call. Why should I hire you? Is there something you do that others don't?
I think I would like to think that it's a communication thing, that I make the inspection personal, and that I educate them on what it is they're about to do or purchase. We offer all the same services, or many of the same services that other inspectors do. So there's not a lot of difference that way. But we take the time and we make it very personal, that we're there to work for them and educate them. One of our taglines is, we do more than inspect, we educate.
Oh, cool! I like it.
And it's really the truth, because at the end, beginning of the inspection, they don't know you from Adam, and at the end of it, we're friends, and that one stops lots of unhappy campers down the road, but it makes it personal, and hopefully they feel free, and we offer that, of course, always, that they can call us at any time. Drop us an email. We want their questions. If something's not understood, call us.
Cool. Well, we talked a little bit about how the inspections have changed, the changes you've seen. If you had a crystal ball, and I know you don't, but what would you think?
How do you know that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, can you pick some horses for me? If you do, please give me some tips or some models.
Give me the first one.
All right. Well, Troy, how do you think the inspections will change in the future?
I think the way we do it is going to change, not the physical process of looking at all the things, but the way companies are set up a little bit on the process of inspecting. There are some that are doing it with video cameras instead of a written report when they can, if they can.
Right.
There's multiple inspectors doing the same house at the same time, as using a kind of a team approach. That's going to kind of come on into things. The use of drones is going to be pretty good when the weather's good. Technology's going to take off and do all that stuff, and the software is going to get easier and better, and there's great opportunities out there.
Yeah, I want to interject a book that I would highly recommend everybody read. It's called Bold by Peter Diamandis. I'm almost done with it now. When I say I'm reading it, I'm listening to it, actually. And he talks about the technology revolution and the disruption. And one thing I feel so good about home inspections is I think all of our tools will change, but I don't think technology could ever take the place of, inspecting a house. There's a lot, you know how technology totally disrupted the music industry, a lot of industries. But I don't think it could ever replace the home inspector, but it could give us a lot of cool tools. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, and I'm a believer in having all the toys in the world.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I'm not sure, and artificial intelligence is really starting. That's a big thing coming up, and it wouldn't take long for the artificial intelligence to bypass me, that's for sure.
I'm in the same boat.
But we did marry smart, so we got that going for us. Well, have you ever been thrown under the bus by a contractor, Troy? I know I have. How do you handle it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go on.
Well, I says, how do you handle it? Do you have any ideas how to? I don't think you can stop it, but at least maybe prevent it or contain it to a degree. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, there's always going to be somebody that in hindsight, or further investigation, hey, they might find something. You bet, and it's happened, of course. What's key there is, for me anyway, is being part of a national organization that has a standards of practice, and you can put that in your back pocket and you can lean on that, because if it wasn't visible at the time of the inspection, you've always got that to say, well, okay, you tore open the wall and sure enough there's a stud that's been cut 3/4 through. Well, was it visible at the time? No. That sort of stuff, it's great to be a part of an organization that has specific standards that are strong and tested, that gives you that backup. So
I hear you. And sometimes they watch HGTV and, well, that guy would have found it. Yeah, because he came in after the fact and they needed some drama on TV. But anyway, I digress. You ever get mad when you watch some of this stuff sometimes? You're like, there's no way he could have found that. I mean, dude, that's so wrong. But
disappointed at least, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like it that it's bringing attention to the profession, but I think it's creating unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that bothers me a little bit is contractors that use fear. I don't know if you guys have mold in Alaska, or is a problem here, but here we have fear mongers. There's some great mold contractors, but there's some people who use fear, and they also use it in HVAC. Do you have any of those contractors that use scare tactics to try to sell? And you have any idea?
To drive business their way? Yeah, sure. And mold is everywhere. We've all deal with it. A lot of times for us, it's dormant because it's frozen. But when it decides to come on out, it comes out in a flourish. And we most of our houses are built on crawl spaces, which are built into the ground 42 inches because of our frost level. So our crawl spaces can harbor a lot of moisture, and then it works its way up through the house and all that. But there's always a concern for that. So we build pretty energy efficient houses, so we need to manage that moisture and control it so that we have less issues. I did an inspection not long ago on a house that there's also a mold guy involved, and it may go to court. It's one of those really unfortunate things. I did everything right. The customer's happy, all that. It was the builder that's not real happy with anybody involved. But we're by having the right information and being able to provide it, at least you cover yourself and your client, because that's your fiduciary responsibility.
Right. No, it's great answers. Well, I want to ask your opinion on something, Troy. I'm bothered sometimes by what I see on home inspector forums. There's some great forums out there, and there's some great information. However, there's some people, there's some chest thumpers out there, and they bother me sometimes. Do you have any ideas of how could we keep that professional and keep the profession looking professional? What's your thoughts on that?
Humility is really important. Everybody knows something, and some people know more than others, and some people think they do. Right. I'm one of those that I'm as dumb as a box of rocks, and I learn something new every day.
Right.
What I like to think that, yeah, I'm the smartest guy and all that? Yeah, you bet. We all would. But you run across things on a daily basis that you've never seen before, and you have to make that, well, I really don't know, call, and let's, further investigation, whatever it is. It's impossible to know everything about everything. But it's important to know as much as you can and become educated so that you can make those right choices on demand, so to speak.
Sure. No, I'm totally with you. Well, let's lighten it up here a little bit. And remember, Troy, this is a G-rated show with this question. What is the wildest or craziest or weirdest thing you've ever found come across on home inspection?
Oh, the mannequin that was way in the back of the crawl space that was laying there looking like a dead body would be one, I guess. The other one, I guess, would be a 9mm pistol that I found in a breaker panel.
In a breaker panel? Holy cow.
In a breaker panel, yeah. And of course, it's a multifamily building, and the occupant of the unit is sitting there on the sofa as I'm doing the inspection, and then I'm puzzled with the dilemma. Okay, is it his? Does he know it's there? What do I do now? I told the building owner or manager, whatever, about it, and I let them deal with it. I put the cover back on it and said, well, it's not doing anything right now, but I don't want to know.
Wow. It's funny that there's an instructor here that we do our CE with, and Bonnie, she's great, and she always talks about, removing the cover panel and, being that safety involved with it. And one of the metaphors she uses is pretend like there's a loaded gun or a cobra about to strike behind there when you pull that cover off. So I have to tell her, I found somebody who that literally happened to.
Yeah, so, it was really bizarre. My eyes got huge, thinking, what do I do now? So.
Well, Troy, and I appreciate you taking so much time. We're starting to wind down here, and I know you've got some inspections and stuff today. Do you have a training or internet or marketing resource you'd be willing to share with everyone?
Training, yeah. We go to a lot of the national conferences as best we can. Some of them it's just unable to do with the time constraints and distance we have to travel. But the marketing stuff, we're a member of the Millionaire Inspector community, and just wouldn't miss those sorts of opportunities.
Sure.
But the education through the International Code Council that I dearly love to go to, and it's not because it's Vegas.
Sure.
Yeah, well, but there's just no end to where you can find the education if you're really looking for it. And yeah, it's tough to leave town and do all that, but it's worth every penny and moment away because you end up so much better informed and a better inspector because of it.
I hear you. I've never seen anything written, but I would have to think that Vegas probably has more conferences than India, because I'm sure the attendance at a Vegas conference, is a little bit better than I don't want to pick on any place, but some place with less to do.
Yeah, between there and Orlando and
Orlando. Right.
There's in Vegas. There's probably 6 conventions going on at any particular week. It's pretty wild.
Absolutely. Well, is there anything you're working on, Troy? Anything you're working on right now that has you jacked up or excited about?
Yeah, actually moving to some new software. I've been using the same stuff for 12, 14 years, and I'm just I'm frustrated with it, and I'm moving to new stuff, and so there's a huge learning curve for me, just and familiarity to get to where I can use it. But that's where my primary focus is, and Credas, of course, is getting ISN up and running and getting automatic online scheduling up, which we've just recently done, and it's magic to just have that email that says, hey, somebody just signed up and booked an inspection. It's the technology end of things is going to be a lot of fun for us.
Yeah, it's a good feeling when you're, out to dinner or something and you see that thing, somebody just scheduled online. You're like, yes. Nice. Well, what's the best part of your job and why, Troy? And what's the worst part of your job and why?
Best part is the people and the interaction, and the knowing that you've done a good job for somebody and that they will refer you. And the worst, I guess, is the physically having to go on all those dark, dank, spaces that you just nobody wants to. But okay, here we go.
Happy thoughts.
Yeah, happy thoughts. There we go.
I just think no matter what, in 10 minutes it'll be over. I can take anything for 10 minutes.
Yep. You bet.
Well, Troy, let's see. We'll last 2 or 3 questions here, and I thank you so much for your time. You've been more than grateful, more than gracious. Sorry, I've been grateful for your time. If you had to move to a brand new town equal to the size where you live now, and you had to start all over, room and board taken care of, you still have all your equipment, all your knowledge, but you have $5,000 to start, marketing yourself. What are you going to do with that $5,000 in the first week?
I think I would probably be heading or setting up appointments and presentations at every realtor's office I could find, and getting to know them as much as possible. Breakfasts, lunches, dinners, social stuff, whatever would work. It's going to vary on where you're at. Utah might be a little different than L.A., but you really wanted to get out there and get people to know you and talk and communicate and I suppose letter up the vehicle too, because you'd want to make sure that you make a presence and a statement. That's pretty much what I'd be doing, and I'd be a hopping son of a gun for about a week or 10 days, and hopefully that would all pan out.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I've told people that it's almost like, when somebody runs for political office, they're out and they're kissing babies and putting signs out. So when you're in business, it's like you're running for office all the time. just don't take money from special interest groups. That's the only that's the big difference. But anyway, I digress. Well, Troy, is there anything that I didn't ask you but I should have?
I don't think so, Preston. You're pretty well organized, which is one of those things I've always respected about you, because you're successful in your own right, and you've done great things. You always seem to have your ducks in a row, and that's important.
Well, thank you, but that's all my wife. Dude, if it weren't for my wife, I can't even find my keys or match my socks.
There you go.
But we both were smart enough to marry smart people.
You bet.
Well, Troy, thank you so much for your time and sharing, and I know our listeners appreciate it. You've dropped a lot of gold nuggets. 2 things.
Now, gold nuggets, is that an Alaska reference?
Hey, there you go. That's
sorry,
cool.
I just had to throw that out.
No, that's good. Well, it's funny. I live in Charlotte, and Charlotte has there was a gold mine found here in Charlotte, Reed Gold Mine. So that's why actually and that was right at that same time they found it in California. So the Charlotte University here, they're the 49ers, they have the 49ers out there. Yeah, so we have a little bit of gold here. But and you know what's funny? I think it's the biggest gold nugget ever found. It was 17 pounds. And the person was plowing a field. I remember this from school. That was Reed Gold Mine, and they found it. And they just thought it was a shiny rock. Do you know they were using it as a doorstop for years and didn't realize it was gold? 17-pound gold nugget. But anyway, I digress. Well, tell us 2 things. How, if you're willing, how could people get in touch to find more about you, and how could they get in touch and find more about Nahi?
Well, me personally, that's not a problem. We have our website is homeinspectalaska.com, and through there you can find us any way at all. Do you want me to give a phone number too, or do you care?
Oh, that's up to you. Either way.
Probably the website's the best, because Krita is busy with all that, and of course I don't answer the phone while I'm inspecting anyway.
Sure.
But that's probably the best way to find us. We're always willing and hopefully able to help anybody wherever you're at. Don't ask me questions on air conditioning. I don't know nearly enough. We just don't have it. But oil boilers. Hey, I got a clue on those. And as far as Nahi goes, Nahi.org. They're a great organization. They're so very supportive, and we've got a really good board right now. In fact, we have had for the last 4, 5, 6, 8 years. But it's very welcoming, and the goal, of course, is to train you to make you better than you are now. And if for those that really want to move the profession forward, that's the place to be as far as I'm concerned.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Troy. One last thing. Do you have a Facebook business page?
Sure, yeah. Home Inspections Plus, I think. Wait a minute, I've got Facebook open right now. Home Inspect Alaska, I think, is what we have.
All right.
And I really should know. I apologize.
Oh, no. Well, what I was going to say, all the listeners who are listening, if you got some value today, and I know you did from Troy, let's help him out a little bit and go to his Facebook page and give him some likes. Because from what I understand, I think that helps you with search engines and stuff. I know there's some guys that are smarter than me that tell me that. So
they tell me the same thing because I really don't understand all that I know about this. But yeah, it's Home Inspections Plus LLC.
Well, cool, guys. If you have time, get on there and give Troy some likes. Well, Troy, thank you so much for your time today. You've been much more than gracious, way beyond. And we'll catch you on the flip side. And thanks a lot.
You bet. Thank you, Preston, very much.
Have a good one.
Thanks for checking out the Successful Home Inspector podcast. You can find show links at thesuccessfulhomeinspector.com. Check out the website for special offers, information, and other resources. Thanks again for listening to the Successful Home Inspector podcast. And remember to check back for new episodes. The Successful Home Inspector podcast is brought to you by Preston Sandlin and Home Inspection Carolina.